can be hard to find help and straight answers to some questions regarding universal credit. That's why I'm making this video as a resource for you to use when you need universal credit help by answering the 20 most common universal credit questions. So if you find this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe if you're new. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Can I apply for universal credit? This is a question I get asked a lot, and it's usually from people with unique or complicated circumstances. The basic answer is yes, you can apply for universal credit, but just because you apply doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get accepted. The government website says you may be eligible for universal credit if you meet the criteria that you see on screen now. So if you do meet all of these criteria, you can go ahead and apply. To apply for universal credit, you just need to go to this website that's on screen and click apply now. And if for any reason you're not able to apply online or you need some help, you can call the Universal Credit Helpline on the numbers shown on screen now. How much will I get on universal credit is probably the most asked question. To put it simply, universal credit payments are split into two. You have the standard allowance and then any other extra payments that apply to your situation. The standard allowance is currently £344 if you're single and under 25, £411.51 if you're single and 25 or over. If you're in a couple and you're both under 25, you get £490.60 for both of you. And a couple where either of you are 25 or over, you'll get £596.58 for the both of you. So that's a standard allowance. And any extra payments depend on a number of circumstances. For example, if you have children, if you or them have disabilities or health conditions, or if you need help with rent. Also, if you receive other types of benefits, this may limit your universal credit amount. So as you can see, there's far too many individual circumstances for me to cover in this video to give you an exact amount for your situation. So the best way for you to find out exactly how much you will get on universal credit is to use a benefits calculator. Turn to Us has one of the best ones out there, so I'll link that in the video description below for you to check out. It can take around 5 weeks for you to get your first universal credit payment. So if you need help with paying your bills or other costs during that time, you can apply to get a universal credit advance. The most that you could get as an advance payment is the same as your first estimated payment, and you can choose how many months you want to pay the advance back over, up to a maximum of 24 months. You don't have to worry about the repayments because they'll be taken directly out of your universal credit payments each month. And so the best way to apply for an advance is to use your online account. You can do it quickly without speaking to anyone, and you usually get a decision within the same day. You may find yourself in a situation further down the line where you need a second advance payment. Now this is possible, but it's usually a lot more difficult to get. You usually need to have paid back your first advance. This is because the amount owed on your first and second payments combined cannot add up to more than your monthly entitlement. You'll need to explain to them why you need it, and they're usually much more strict when giving out a second advance. And you'll also need to call up the Universal Credit Helpline to apply. This usually takes so much longer, and it can be a bit awkward having to explain to someone why you're struggling and why you need these payments. As I mentioned earlier, it can usually take around 5 weeks from being approved to receiving your first universal credit payment. After you receive that first payment, you'll be paid on the same date every single month going forward. However, payments are not processed over the weekend, so if your payment date falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, you'll usually be paid the working day before. If you're eligible for universal credit, you can get help to cover your rent and some service charges. The payments will be made directly to you, so it's then your responsibility to go and pay the landlord. Again, the amount you receive for this can vary depending on your circumstances, so to get an accurate figure, it's best to use a benefit calculator, like the one in the video description below. If you have a mortgage, universal credit may provide help towards the cost of your monthly mortgage payments. It can also help with loans up to the value of £200,000 that you may have taken out and used your property as security. However, there's 2 key points to point out with this. First, help with mortgage payments or loans is classed as a loan. You'll be asked to repay this loan if the property it's claimed for is either sold or transferred to someone else. The second key point is that you can only get help with mortgage payments after you've been receiving universal credit for 39 weeks. And that's with no breaks and no earned income in that time. So universal credit will help with mortgage payments, but only after you've been stuck on universal credit for at least 9 months. If you're receiving universal credit, it will not affect your credit rating. Your credit score or your credit rating looks at your borrowing history. It looks at what debts or finance you have and whether you repay them on time. Universal credit actually forms part of your income, so it won't appear on your credit file and won't affect your credit score. The Universal Credit Uplift was introduced as an economic support measure to help families on lower income during the beginning of the pandemic in March 2020. Even though there's been many calls from politicians and charities to keep the £20 uplift permanently, it's currently due to come to an end on the 30th of September 2021. Before we go on to the second half of the questions, I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, you could get a completely free, risk-free share up to the value of £200 if you sign up to FREETRADE using the link in the description. You can choose to keep hold of the share, maybe sell it and buy another share, or simply sell it and withdraw the cash straight into your bank account. This video isn't sponsored, I just really like FREETRADE and I like free money, so check them out using the link in the video description. So can you get universal credit if you're homeless? The answer is yes. If you don't have a permanent address, there are other options available. You could use a care of address, like the address of a family member or a trusted friend. If you're staying in a hostel, you can use the hostel address as your address. Or in exceptional circumstances, you could use the job centre's address. So when you apply, it's important that you're honest about your situation so that they can offer you the appropriate help. If you're able to work and you're available to work, you're expected to do everything you reasonably can to give yourself the best chance of finding work. When you're on universal credit, preparing for and getting a job is expected to be your main focus. In most cases, what you need to do will be agreed in a meeting with your work coach. What you and your work coach agree on will then be written down in the claimant commitment. This will set out what you've agreed to do to prepare for work, look for work, or increase your earnings if you're already working. There are a number of circumstances that may change this, or change what they expect of you. If this is the case, this will be discussed by your work coach. When you're on universal credit, there's actually no limit to the amount of hours you can work. However, if you are employed, how much universal credit you'll get will depend on your earnings. Your universal credit payment will reduce gradually as you earn more. For every £1 that you earn in employment, your universal credit payment will reduce by 63p. You can apply for a universal credit payment to cover up to 1 month before you started your claim. This is called backdating. To get this, you'll need a good reason as to why you didn't put your claim in earlier. And if you're applying as a couple, you'll both need a good reason. For example, this could be things like an illness, disability, or maybe the online system was down. You should call universal credit on these numbers if you want to backdate your claim. If you're 19 or over and do not already have a level 3 qualification or higher, you can get access to a free qualification. Some of these qualifications are available to study online or even part-time. In some cases, you may need to meet admissions criteria for a specific course that they offer. For example, you may need to have studied a particular subject before at a lower level. You can choose from hundreds of level 3 qualifications to help you on the path to a better, well-paid job. Universal credit payments sometimes don't stretch enough to even pay the bills, but you may be able to get extra freebies or discounts to help your money last longer. Depending on your individual circumstances, here's a list of things that you may be eligible for. If you fail to do what you've agreed in your claim and commitment without a good reason, your universal credit payment may be reduced for a set period. There are different levels of sanctions, and which one you'll get will depend on the reason for your sanction. And if you've had a previous sanction before, this may mean your new sanction will be for a longer period of time. The 4 sanction levels are higher, medium, low, and lowest. And the amount of money that you'll lose during these sanctions are on screen now. And also, if you claim universal credit as a couple and just one of you doesn't meet your responsibilities, you may receive a sanction to your joint payment. You need to report changes to your circumstances so that you receive the right amount each month. Changes can include any of the following that's on screen. You can report changes of circumstances by logging into your online universal credit account and clicking on the Report a Change of Circumstances section. It's actually really important that you report a change of circumstances straight away. If you don't, you could be taken to court or pay a penalty. If you fail to report any changes, that means you're receiving the wrong amount. Is universal credit enough to live on? This is one of the questions that is highly debated. Some people say it's not even enough to cover the basic cost of living, while others say it's not meant to. It's not meant to fund your lifestyle choices and pay for a comfortable life. I actually did a video answering the question, can you live on universal credit? So you can check that out here. I actually have another video coming out soon on whether or not you can get a credit card whilst on universal credit. Now, I'm not answering this so you can get a credit card to help fund your lifestyle, but instead to use it wisely to help build your credit score even whilst on Universal Credit. When this video is available, you'll be able to check it out here, but until then, you can see a video on whether you should use a debit or credit card for your everyday payments. If you have any more questions on Universal Credit, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget about your free share valued up to £200 when you sign up to FreeTrade using the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.